So, hello everybody. Thank you for coming in and checking out my channel. Today we're going to talk about this new moon. Today is not January, it is May 21st. It's the first night of the full moon. But tomorrow is when the new moon goes into Gemini. So let's talk about what that means potentially. So a new moon is, for those of you who don't know, is where astrologists kind of begin what the new lunar cycle, the new lumination to begin. And this one will be in Gemini. So what can that mean for you? How would it affect your sun sign? Well, on one end of things, because Gemini are twins, right? So on one end, you'll be more versatile, more outgoing, you can be the life of the party, you're gonna have a little more energy to get things done. But on the back end, something that you might have to watch out is kind of overextending yourself. Biting off more than you can chew, you might have a tendency to get a little unorganized. Geminis are kind of known for getting a little scatterbrained, so that can also affect you to a certain extent as well. That's just kind of a general overview. I actually would like to spend a little time and talk about the tarot associations with Gemini. So in the major arcana, the card often associated with Gemini is the Lovers card. So what does Lovers mean? Well, lovers are, it's all about relationships. It's also about inspiration, motive, power, and action. A need to overcome obstacles. As you can see, it looks like he's saving his beloved there. I really like this Lovers card. It's quite different than like the RWS or the Tall Theban. It's more active in its energy, and I kind of like that because it really shows this need to overcome obstacles, to prove yourself to those you care about. In ancient tarot decks, it used to do, the picture was generally a man depicted between two women representing vice and virtue. Traditionally, these two women were Lilith and Eve. In the RWS, again, it shows a nude couple, like this one, but they're just kind of just out to the side, and there's a Cupid kind of above them. So I like this one, because like I said, this one really to me generates like the active power behind the lovers, what that means. And Gemini is an air sign, so Ace of Swords, right? Ace of Swords, invoking power for good or evil. Again, it's that duality of Gemini. Can represent health, sickness, sometimes trouble, disputes, communication, and mental processes. So it's definitely an element of the mind. And so, without getting into too much specifics about how air and Gemini work together, that's just kind of what air is. In the minors, the deaconets are represented by the Eight of Swords, the Nine of Swords, and the Ten of Swords. These are all not traditionally very friendly cards for those of you who are not familiar with the tarot. Eight of Swords generally represents restriction, shortened, as you see here, the key word is shortened force. Very restriction, kind of trapped. Nine of Swords, traditionally, it's like mental attacks upon yourself, nightmares, anxiety. As you see here, despair, cruelty. It can also mean malice or slander. And then the Ten of Swords, the dreaded Ten of Swords, ruin, death, defeat, disruption, the plans. It's kind of like the Death card or the Tower card in a sense, but more static, not quite as movable as force. So, and let's go back to the Lovers card very briefly here. If you see here, we have these two symbols there on the bottom. One is obviously the sign of Gemini, and then the other, Well, that is the Hebrew letter Zayin, which means sword. So again, it's very appropriate that the suit of swords is representative in or corresponding to Gemini. So what does this mean? Well, new moon in Gemini is a really good time to assess your motivations and how you interact with those around you. This will have a more beneficial impact for sun signs in the fire element and air elements. So fire elements being the Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, as the air will help to cool the fire down, because air is oftentimes associated with coolness. And some astrologers believe that air is needed to help translate fire, to help control it a little bit better, to communicate those desires and those ambitions. It's not so friendly with the water signs or the earth signs. It's more friendly with the water signs, but as thoughts and issues kind of rise up, it can kind of antagonize and frustrate the feelings and inner workings of water, those emotions. And so that's something just to kind of, it can stir the waters, as it were. It can also propel the water forward into motion, but again, water signs are just going to have to be extra careful to not allow it to overwhelm you. And then earth signs, you're just going to have, this is going to be a time where I think you're just going to have to really practice your patience with others around you. That's just how it is. Earth signs, you guys are very immovable, very kind of dry and in the archetypal earth sense. And that air is also a drying quality as well. And so it can be and it's going to try to move you, but you're going to, you're just going to have to be very patient with it. So overall, this is a cycle to work things out and to bring about change. Gemini is all about enjoying life, but as we know, now is a very Eight of Swords kind of life. With the virus coming out, we're all in quarantine, we're kind of restricted, like I said before. So I'll bring that up again. There you go. The trick is to find that inspiration to overcome the trials ahead in this lunar cycle. Will you allow the ending to be a Ten of Swords for the bad, or where the world goes out of control and there's no escape, where you feel trapped and pinned down? Or will it be for a good, a positive change to end the dark times? Will you be the one to pull the swords out of your own back, out of your friend's back, out of your lover's back? Again, this is a time for relationships. So for my tarot lovers out here, this is a spread that I found that I think will really help us understand better what this new moon in Gemini has in store for us. So as you see here, we have our signifier card, the Lovers. Remember, this is the major arcana card that represents Gemini. Our first card is going to be how or where have I been too self-centered? Second card, how has it affected those I care about? Third card represents, how can I be more reliable? And then finally, what can give me clarity in the chaos? So, what did you get? How to interpret your cards, and leaving a comment in the comments below. I got this spread from Labyrinthios on Pinterest. Labyrinthios Academy. I definitely recommend you check them out. They've got some great spreads that you can peruse at your leisure. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me in this video. This is a new venture for me, and I hope that we both get something out of this. For those of you who are interested, the tarot deck that I used today is the Golden Dawn Tarot by Chick and Tabitha Cicero. I'll put a link in the description box below where you can possibly get it. It's a great deck. I actually have a deck review coming out in the next week or so where I kind of go over what this deck is all about. It's a really, really great, solid deck, and I personally get extremely clear meanings. This deck has no BS in it. It does not mince words. There's no fluffiness in it. It just tells it like it is. It's a great deck, and it's a really highly magical deck too. So it's great for ritual work and everything else. So I also, some other sources that I used for this video. I used The Only Astrology Book You Will Ever Need by Joanna Martin Woolfolk. I think that's her name. Yeah, Woolfolk. I will also put a link for this in the bottom as well. And last but not least, where did I put that book? There it is. I'm telling you, Gemini is already getting into my fire here, and it's kind of blowing the flames everywhere. So anyway, I also used Garden of Pomegranates by Israel Regardie to kind of get into the Hebrew of the meaning behind the card here. It's a great book. This is the third edition by Israel Regardie, and it has notes and a whole extra section by Chick and Tabitha Cicero. So I put another link here where you can get it. And thank you guys so much again for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Have a great lumination, and I'll see you again soon.